Hello everyone, my name is Lucy, and today I just wanted to have a little chitty chat about trends in 2022, more specifically spring trends, because I feel like as we are kind of going outside a little bit more and we are wearing clothes designed for going outside a little bit more, I feel like the trend landscape has been really interesting. So I'm dipping my little toes into the water with something new today as we talk about spring fashion trends for 2022. And what I want to kind of do is talk about the influences behind those trends. So, why have they sort of become popular as of recent? What are they influenced by? As well as, do we think those trends are going to have longevity? Are they going to stick around for more than a season? Or are they something that's going to kind of come and go pretty quickly? I feel like there can be so many trends happening concurrently, like all at the same time. And because of algorithms and just generally what you're into, the kind of trends that you're seeing in your fashion world might be different to mine. So I kind of wanted to get a little bit more of an objective perspective on what the most popular fashion trends for 2022 are. And I found this article called "These are the biggest fashion trends of 2022." And it seems like from their description, it's mainly focusing on spring, and it was published only last week, so it's pretty recent. This is from Refinery29, makers of such famous video makeup tutorials. But no, in all seriousness, I do actually really like Refinery29. I spent a lot of time on there in high school, and I just feel like because it is quite a popular publication, it will give maybe a little bit more of a broader perspective on women's wear trends. So let's find out what is apparently hip for spring. Okay, starting off with the first trend, which is apparently sweats 2.0. And they're basically saying that this is a continuation of the loungewear trend that we've seen over the last few years because of obvious reasons, and also because of the continuation of hybrid work from home setups. I don't know if I would describe this as a new trend, but it's definitely a trend. It's a trend in data over the last few years. They would have seen a lot of people buying a lot of loungewear. I know that I certainly acquired a little bit more loungewear, kind of upgraded my comfy home wardrobe because I have mainly been home. I do feel like the 2.0 is sort of a trend though, because I know that I'm basically going to be working from home for the foreseeable future. I'm not going to be in an office anymore. So to me, I'm kind of like, okay, I used to spend money on corporate wear, on workwear that was designed for like a corporate dress code. I don't need to spend that money anymore. But also it's not like I'm just, not working. I'm at home and I'm at a desk for a lot of my day. So I'm taking that money that I would have spent on my corporate wardrobe, and I kind of want to put that money into elevated basics that make me feel comfortable and kind of relaxed, but also have a sense of structure and professionalism. So I'm not just like wearing my old pajamas. There's nothing wrong with that though. I have definitely done that. But I know for me at least, kind of getting up and getting dressed and kind of doing a little bit of that, like getting ready for the day routine, definitely does make a difference. And I think clothes are a big part of that. I think if I'm like too comfortable, I feel like I can't work. Like I'm more productive if I'm just slightly less comfortable than if I was in full pajamas. I feel like for me now, the loungewear that I have on my wish list, as opposed to the kind of stuff I wanted at the start of the pandemic, which was more like comfy tracksuits, like pajamas, sweatpants. I feel like now it's more things like potentially a cashmere matching set, which I know is a little bit more pricey, but because I know I'm just gonna be, working from home and just indoors for a really long time, I kind of want to invest in those really, really nice pieces that are gonna last me a long time and just be really versatile and look put together and just make me feel like a professional lady. So yeah, definitely not a new trend, but kind of the movement away from matching tracksuits, kind of super comfy, to slightly more just, elevated loungewear. I definitely agree. And I also like the trend. Let's see what trend they have up next. Voluminous silhouettes. Okay. I mean, sure, I feel like that's also really broad. I feel like when I think of this trend of voluminous silhouettes, the very first thing that comes to mind is the selkie puff, which obviously became super duper popular in the last couple of years and became really mainstream, when normally I feel like dresses like that are quite niche. I mean, again, I don't know, because I feel like in my little fashion world, the selkie puff is like such a big thing that everyone knows about, but maybe not for other people. I mean, yeah, I do think this is really broad. I like a puff sleeve, so I'm happy, I guess. I personally like elements of puff and volume in silhouettes because I feel like usually for volume to exist, there has to be some type of cinch. So a lot of silhouettes that I really like, you know, where it's like voluminous up the top and on the bottom and then like a really cinched waist, I feel like are really flattering on my body type. But I think more broadly, a voluminous silhouette, there's so many different ways you can do that it's gonna look good on a bunch of different body types, and there's lots of different ways you can play with it. Incredibly broad trend in my opinion. I have noticed that apparently puff skirts, like puffball skirts, are coming back, which will be interesting to kind of see how they've evolved from what I remember of puffball skirts, which wasn't amazing, but I've seen some new iterations on that design and they look really pretty and modern. It's more like less puffy, I guess. I feel like the new versions are still voluminous, but just less like cupcake puffy, more like a, you know those little French pastries called quenelles? Am I pronouncing that correctly? It's like that type of puff rather than like a cupcake puff. Okay, the next trend on this list is platform shoes. And I feel like this trend is so fun and so cute. For me, the moment which I feel like really cemented this trend is like kind of on the up and up was the Versace platform heels. I remember Ariana Grande wore them on the James, which of the James / Jimmy's was it? I want to say it was James Corden. You know, the rat from Cinderella, that guy. Please, please, please. And then I feel like we just saw them popping up everywhere. I feel like stylists were using them in lots of shoots on a lot of celebrities. Mini fashion cheat sheet. If you see more than 2 versions of something on ASOS, it's probably a trend. And obviously the Versace ones are very, very expensive. I mean, they are gorgeous, absolutely. But I feel like this is one of those trends where I think it translates quite well into a more affordable version because it is like a satin look fabric. And of course, you're seeing that kind of chunky platform trend with things like the Prada loafers and then just loafers in general, both kind of your more traditional style and the more kind of colorful style or the heeled style. You're just getting like chonkiness, I feel like, all round. I feel like with this particular platform shoe trend, it's taking kind of classic vintage silhouettes of shoes and then just making them chunkier and bigger. Kind of like Bratz shoes. I feel like they're just Bratz shoes and I love that. Honestly, I'm so here for it. I also feel like we had, you know, such a 70s moment in fashion over the last few years, really. Like I feel like we've been seeing it for a while, but now I feel like we're kind of getting 60s vibes creeping in, like late 60s. And so I feel like I'm seeing shoes that are this really interesting mix where it's like the 70s silhouette of like the chunky bohemian clog, but with kind of the fun mod color palette and kind of details. I don't know, it's really interesting. I feel like I said before, because this trend is basically sort of just taking classic shoe silhouettes and adding kind of a bit of chunkiness, a bit of platform to them, then I feel like no matter how you want to play with this trend, if it speaks to you, I feel like you'll get good mileage out of the piece. I feel like. But just stay true to your personal style and what you love, even if it kind of goes out of style or whatever. If you still like it, obviously still wear it. If you like it and you love it, then you should wear it. That's my opinion. Even though I'm about to continually shove more opinions down your throat anyway. Okay, next up they're saying low-rise pants. And I would say the threat of low-rise pants has been on the rise since kind of mid last year. But I feel like now it has officially arrived, just seeing like full-fledged like marketing campaigns in stores being like, ah yes, your favorite low-rise pants. And you're like, yay. And I know a lot of people don't love this trend and they want to hold on to high-rise with every fiber of their being. And I respect that. I am also a high-rise gal. But I kind of like this trend. I don't know if for me, but I like it on other people. I think it's really fun. I feel like when most people think about the low-rise trend, they think about the early 2000s, which to be honest was actually not that long ago. It was like 20 years ago. I don't have like distinct memories of low-rise, but I remember it being there. But the thing is with low rise, it's not just those like super duper like low cut Paris Hilton style jeans. I feel like it's a bit more of a broader category than that because okay, high rise or high waisted is basically anything that's sort of above the belly button. And then sort of your mid rise stock photo of jeans is basically sitting on your belly button. And then I feel like low rise is sort of anything below the belly button. That's kind of how I mentally define it. And so I feel like there is a lot of room for a modern improvement of the low rise in sort of more flattering cuts that flatter more body types than just the like super skinny 2000s model types. Because I feel like the ones from the 2000s were quite tight as well, like they were really form-fitted low-rise pieces. Whereas I'm kind of thinking more like flowy midi skirts or the IMG pants that were worn by Maddie in Euphoria. So they have more of a cutout, so technically the pants are low rise, but they have straps. So I feel like they look a little bit more flattering on a more curvy body type, potentially. And then I also feel like a more oversized, kind of like structured pants look, something like the Lioness Miami Vice pants. It's sort of more of a cargo pant style. I feel like that could also look really good on people who maybe have not delved into low rise before. Like, I don't know if I'm personally gonna engage with this trend. Like, I feel like high-waisted, like that more vintage kind of silhouette does suit me best, but that's not to say I wouldn't, you know, try something new, something different. As Shakira said in Zootopia, try everything. So next up, we apparently just have the color purple. Oh my God, Whoopi Goldberg, I love your work. I know the Pantone color of the year is very Perry. I know because I dyed my hair that color. I don't know, I like purple, but I just feel like I haven't really seen it. I feel like pastel colors and sort of bright colors more broadly have been popular, but I don't know if I've seen a specific rise in purple. In saying that though, I am from Australia, so we're about 4 to 5 months sort of behind the Northern Hemisphere trend cycle. So if there was any part of your mind that was realizing that I was doing a spring 2022 trends forecast, even though I'm heading into autumn 2022, then yes, that's correct. But I would say that specifically where I live in Australia, we have such a tropical climate that spring and autumn are sort of interchangeable and it's hot. Speak of the devil, we just had a little tropical shower come in and start as I'm filming. Slay. But yeah, I feel like spring trends from places like the States kind of translate to ours, but we usually just like put a jacket on, but the temperatures are kind of not that different. In fact, I think our autumn is probably warmer than a lot of places spring. Anyway, my main demographics are in the Northern Hemisphere, so I'm just giving you that juicy content that you want. Yum, 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 mummy's feeding it to you, eat it up. I feel like the colors I've seen most recently, or kind of all over my feed, are Kelly green or Bottega green, just that really bright green, and candy pink, and maybe baby blue, but that also could just be because I really like baby blue, so the algorithm's just giving me more. All right, next we have Regency Core Continued, or as I like to call it, Bridgerton Season 2 Electric Boogaloo. I feel like this totally makes sense to me because I feel like when Bridgerton Season 1 came out was sort of around the time when everyone was really into cottagecore, and also we couldn't really go outside. So I feel like cottagecore, as much as I like it, is very lifestyle oriented. It's very leisure oriented, whereas I feel like the Regency core kind of stuff we're seeing in fashion is a little bit more like implemented into modern life. Like you can have these elements of beautiful vintage prints and corsets and frills, but you can kind of pair them with jeans and like more casual modern pieces, whereas I feel like cottagecore is more of a holistic look. It's honestly a win for me because my style is very feminine, very kind of romantic inspired, very preppy. So these types of trends really fit in well with just my personal style, interest, and aesthetic, which I feel like has been true for my personal style for a really long time. Like obviously everyone's personal style kind of ebbs and flows, but I actually, when I was in high school, maybe middle school even, I was really into a Japanese fashion subculture called Lolita, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. Lolita fashion is inspired by Victorian and Rococo fashion, so Regency core is obviously inspired by the Regency period. And while I absolutely appreciate just how like stunningly beautiful and artistic Lolita fashion is, I realized that ultimately I prefer just a little bit more of a modern aesthetic, but I still love just elements of that fashion. So Regency core, thank you for arriving in this world and making it kind of mainstream, because now I'm getting all those really beautiful elements like dreamy bows and prints and pastels, but in the kind of silhouettes and format that I really enjoy. I feel like you can see this influence with a lot of brands. Again, Selkie, I feel like, do a lot of, you know, cottage core, and now I feel like more regency core sort of dresses. And then probably I would also say House of CB. Obviously those floral cottage core dresses were really popular, and again I feel like they're kind of transitioning into doing more of those corset kind of satiny silky looking pieces. So I think a lot of the brands that kind of were at the forefront of cottage core, or like the most mainstream cottage core brands or recognizable, I feel like now they're moving into more of that like princessy Bridgerton inspired aesthetic. Just an observation I'm making. This entire video is just observations that I'm making casually. And then the next trend is cutouts, and I would absolutely agree. I see cutouts absolutely everywhere. This trend is not one of my personal favorites. I feel like the cutouts that we're seeing more often now, they're just very like graphic and specific, and I feel like with most pieces that increases complications when it comes to styling. The places where I feel like I most enjoy the cutout trend is in formal wear and evening wear. So it's like one kind of cohesive look and the focus is on those cutouts. And I feel like so many people wearing those pieces look absolutely gorgeous and like so unique and incredible, but they're also not trying to like style it with like a jacket and like a pair of pants. It's just like, it's one beautiful piece. I know like the Cult Gaia dress has been really popular and I've seen that on a few people, and I feel like that looks really beautiful and special. And again, it's usually styled really minimally, like they are just wearing that dress and like some jewelry, shoes, the other things you wear in an outfit. But then you have kind of more maximalist versions like the poster girl dresses, which are also really cool and very special. But again, I feel like they're such a statement piece that they're not something you can just like kind of casually incorporate into your everyday wardrobe, in my opinion. And I would say my favorite versions of the cutout trend I've seen are the more minimal ones, where it looks kind of just like a slightly connected shirt and skirt or something like that, in which case I'm kind of like, I wish it was just a shirt and skirt, because then it would be more versatile and more wearable. I think if it's your vibe, obviously like literally anything in this video, if it's your vibe and you like it, then obviously go for it. But I feel like this trend, more than kind of some of the other ones we've talked about today, just feels a little bit fleeting and like it's gonna date a little quickly, in my opinion. I feel like when I think of something like a very simple puff sleeve dress, and there are versions with it that have cutouts and there are versions which don't have cutouts, and I feel like the versions that don't have cutouts will just have more longevity than opposed to the version of the cutouts. Like to me, it just feels very much like of the last couple of years, where I've just seen those dresses with little cutouts on the sides. So to me, it like automatically dates it to this period, as opposed to something with like a more generally classic silhouette. But in saying that, since I have been birthed on this earth, I feel like I've seen the cutout trend come in and out multiple times. So like all trends, it's a cycle, so it'll come back in eventually. So if you really like it, then obviously go for it. But for me, I'm gonna give that one a skip personally. I really like this next one, and that's because I'm fully into this trend. Bright bags. I don't feel like I really talk about it on here, but I'm such a sucker for bags. But I think I've been really well behaved at keeping my bag collection really streamlined. But my latest bag purchase was let me grab her. I bought this kind of midway through last year, and it is my bubblegum Telfar. Obviously, I would put this into the category of a bright bag. I love that bag, by the way, and I kind of want to buy a little one because they do crossbodies, and they're so cute. They come in so many colors. They're so versatile and useful. But also one of the bags that they're featuring kind of in this roundup is the Coach Pillow Tabby. This bag is kind of on my wish list, like if I can get it secondhand or for a decent price, but also I don't think they even like have them here. Like I don't think you can get them in Australia. Like I looked on their website and they're just like not there. So that's a bit sad. Like they're minimal, but also fun, but also minimal, but also fun. Also, while we're talking about bags, I don't know if this technically counts in the bright bag category, but I'm going to count it in the bright bag category because I feel like it's within the spirit of the bright bag trend. But the Prada Cleo bags, especially in like that minty color and the alabaster, okay, it's not really bright, it's like more pastel, but just work with me, okay? But I really like the Prada Cleo bags, and I also really like the re-edition bags. I've been trying to nab a vintage one on an auction site for a while now. Prayer circle bibbies, we can do it. I refuse to spend $1,000 on nylon. It's beautiful nylon, but it's nylon. At least the Cleo's leather. It's nylon. Bright bags, tick from me. Just cute bags in general, get a tick from me. I feel like this video is just exposing how like completely head empty I am. And the final alleged popular trend for 2022 is mod prints. Okay. I feel like this is just an extension of the psychedelic prints trend, which was sort of more 70s vibe. Again, we're going from the 70s, we're kind of winding it back to 60s. I don't feel like I really participated in the psychedelic print trend much. Not because I didn't like it, but because I preferred prints that were maybe sidestepping from the psychedelic print trend, where they were doing like pastel and kind of colorful variations on more classic prints like leopard print or like florals. Like I really enjoy the pastel variations on those, but I don't know if I would consider them the psychedelic print. Like when I think of the psychedelic print trend, I feel like we're all thinking of the same swirly stuff. I don't know if I've really seen too many examples personally of what Refinery 29 are kind of coining as the mod print. I'm not against it, but similar to cutouts, I feel like some of these specific prints in particular are just like so burned into my mind as like being attached to 2020, 2021, and 2022 that I feel like they just date really quickly. I don't know, it's not a trend I'm particularly attached to, but if I did want to play with this trend, I would try and get a more unique or like true to the time print. I think it's very fun with when there are like modern versions of a trend, and obviously sometimes I feel like the modern version does have improvements, like, you know, suiting a wider range of body types and just generally being more accessible. But on the other hand, obviously kind of more vintage pieces and original pieces do have that like authenticity, and obviously a lot of vintage brands, you know, weren't mass making pieces, so I feel like you're more likely to find a more one of a kind or one of a few item. That goes for thrifting in general, but specifically for this like print trend, I feel like that rings very true. And with that, we have covered all of the alleged 2022 spring trends. I feel like a lot of those I did agree with. Some of them I feel like were kind of broad. It was giving SEO keyword. But you know what? I feel that a marketing gal's got to do what a marketing gal's got to do to secure that web traffic. I understand. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up and stop clapping my trap. I hope you enjoyed this discussion of spring trends or broader 2022 trends. Let me know if there are any trends that you're super into or trends that you feel like you've noticed are on the rise. Of course, with any of these things, just wear what you like. I know I do. I don't know, I just think it's fun to reflect on the fashion zeitgeist and kind of have a little chat about, you know, where the trends have come from. Not that I have, you know, Miranda Priestley cerulean blue knowledge. Definitely not. But yes, let me know if you enjoyed this type of content. It's a little bit different for me. But of course, if this content is not the vibe, then I shall cease to ever speak of it again. So, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in